I remember the day I first met Lara, my boss's wife. It was a Tuesday morning at the office. I was at my desk sorting through paperwork when my boss, Robert Hayes, walked in with a striking woman by his side. I recognized her from a photo on his desk. In person, she was poised and graceful, with bright, intelligent eyes that seemed to notice everything. Robert introduced us with a proud smile. "This is Marina, one of our excellent project managers," he said. "Marina, meet my wife, Lara." I stood and shook her hand, hoping I looked composed despite the sudden flutter in my stomach. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Hayes," I managed politely. She gave a warm laugh. "Please, call me Lara. I've heard great things about you." Her kindness put me at ease. We exchanged a few words about the company and the charity project she was involved in. And then Robert led her on to meet others. As they walked away, I found myself watching her. There was something magnetic about Lara. Not just her beauty, but the genuine warmth she showed everyone. Over the next few weeks, Lara became a regular presence around the office, coordinating a charity initiative our company supported. Each time she appeared, I felt nervous and excited. I'm usually private at work, especially as a lesbian in a fairly conservative company. But something about Lara made me feel seen. We would chat briefly, small talk and smiles, but those moments became the highlights of my day. I told myself she was just being friendly, that she was like that with everyone. Still, I couldn't deny how my heart quickened around her. One stormy evening, I ended up working late, preparing a client presentation. Almost everyone had left to avoid the coming storm, but I stayed, lost in my task. Rain pounded the windows and thunder rumbled in the distance. I nearly jumped out of my chair when I looked up to see her standing in the office doorway, closing a dripping umbrella. "Marina, you're still here?" she asked, surprised to find me alone. I smiled sheepishly. "Just wrapping up some work." The storm caught me by surprise. Lara stepped inside, droplets of rain sparkling on her coat. "I was out at a dinner and Robert suggested I wait here until the weather clears," she said. "I was about to make some tea. Would you like to join me? It's nicer than waiting alone." My pulse skipped. "Tea sounds great," I replied. In the break room, the office was hushed and dim after hours. We brewed a pot of tea and settled at the small table. The building was quiet around us, the windows streaked with rain. At first, we talked about little things, the weather, the project I was working on, but soon the conversation grew more personal. Lara told me a funny story about the dinner she'd attended, doing an impression of a snobby patron that made me snort tea through my nose. We both laughed, and she gently handed me a napkin, her eyes shining with mirth. I realized how easy it was to talk to her as if we were old friends. When our mugs were empty and the storm finally calmed, we walked to the elevators together. Before I stepped in, she touched my arm lightly. "Drive safe, Marina, and don't work too hard, okay?" There was a caring, almost intimate tone in her voice that made my breath catch. "I'll try, I promise," I said softly. "Good night, Lara." "Good night," she replied, and the elevator doors slid closed between us. On the drive home, my mind was in a haze. That simple touch on my arm replayed over and over. By the time I reached my apartment, I knew I was in deep trouble. Lara was my boss's wife, far out of bounds. And yet, I felt an undeniable pull toward her. That night, I lay in bed, unable to sleep, the scent of jasmine tea still on my senses, and the memory of her laughter lingering in my ears. I told myself it was just a harmless crush born of loneliness and admiration. I had no idea the path I'd just stepped onto would change my life forever. Quick reminder, if you're enjoying this story, hit subscribe to Sapphic Tales so you don't miss the next one. Despite my efforts to remain professional, I couldn't stop thinking about Lara after that night. Every time she visited the office, my pulse raced. About a week later, Lara stopped by my desk around noon, surprising me with a latte from the cafe downstairs. "I remembered you like caramel," she said with a shy smile as she handed me the cup. I was touched. She remembered such a small detail. We chatted for a moment, and then she asked if I'd help with a charity gala planning meeting that weekend. "I could use your organizational skills," she said. "And it would be nice to have a friend there." Friend? The word was both comforting and a little disappointing. Still, I agreed to help. On Saturday, she left me her number and the meeting details. All week, I looked forward to Saturday with a mix of nerves and excitement. Saturday arrived, and I joined Lara and a few volunteers at a community center to plan the gala. For a couple of hours, we brainstormed and organized. It was wonderful to see Lara in her element, enthusiastic, creative, and encouraging to everyone's ideas. When the meeting wrapped up and the others left, I stayed behind to help her clean up. As we collected papers and empty cups, our conversation turned personal. Lara admitted that Robert didn't pay much attention to her charity work. He supports it financially, but he kind of sees it as my little hobby, she said, rolling her eyes with a sad smile. I offered a sympathetic look. "It's important work, and you're amazing at it. Anyone can see that," she sighed, wiping a table absent-mindedly. "Sometimes I feel like he doesn't really see me at all. It gets lonely," her voice faltered. My heart ached. "You deserve to be seen, Lara," I said softly. "For who you are." She met my eyes then, and I felt a connection, like a physical current between us. "Marina," she whispered, stepping closer. Before I could overthink, I gently took her hand. "You're not alone," I said. My voice was barely above a whisper, but she heard it. Lara's eyes filled with emotion. In the quiet of that empty room, the last barriers between us crumbled. She reached up, fingers trembling, and lightly touched my cheek. I closed my eyes at the warmth of her hand. When I opened them, she was so close I could feel her breath. I don't know who moved first. Suddenly, her lips were on mine. The kiss was soft, hesitant for just a moment. Then all the longing we'd held back came rushing out. I wrapped my arms around her as the kiss deepened, months of loneliness and unspoken feelings pouring into that embrace. Her hands slid around my neck, and she sighed against my mouth like she'd been holding her breath for years. When we finally parted, we were both shaking. Lara looked at me with a mix of wonder and fear. I'm sorry," she stammered, though she didn't step away. "Don't be," I murmured, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. My heart was soaring. "I'm not." Just then, her phone buzzed loudly on the table, making us jump. Robert's name flashed on the screen. With a fearful glance at me, Lara silenced the call. Reality came crashing back. She swallowed hard. "I have to go," she said quietly. "He's expecting me home." My stomach clenched, but I forced a reassuring nod. "Of course. I understand." Lara squeezed my hand, her eyes pleading. "Can I see you tomorrow? Just to talk about everything?" "Yes," I answered immediately. "Tomorrow." We agreed to meet at a small coffee shop at 10 a.m. Outside, the afternoon sun had broken through the clouds, the air fresh from the earlier rain. I walked her to her car. Before getting in, she squeezed my hand once more. So much was said in that brief touch and the searching look we shared. We both knew our lives had just changed in irrevocable ways. I watched her drive off, my lips still tingling from our kiss. My world felt turned upside down, but I was happier than I could ever remember. We had crossed a forbidden line, and there were countless uncertainties ahead. But one thing was clear, we weren't alone in this. Lara felt the same way I did, and that made anything seem possible.